Hey, what's up everybody? This is Justin with Siaj Scents. Today I have got 12 awesome clone fragrances for you. Each of these are a really good clone of what they are mimicking or modeled after, and they're all really inexpensive. So do me a favor and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. I've got a video coming out every couple days. And also let me know down in the comments, what would you add to this list of great clones at fantastic prices? All right, let's go ahead and get into this. The first one that I'll mention, this one is a freshie. It's a blue fragrance, and it's a clone of a very expensive Rose Dove fragrance, Elysium. This is Fragrance World Imperium. This is like a $25 clone of Elysium, and it is a really good clone. It's like the vetiver and the blackcurrant and lime, that beautiful fruity opening that's got that bright grassy vetiver. It is done very well in this fragrance. I've got a number of clones. I've actually done a video comparing some of the clones of Elysium. And this is like a $25 fragrance that really does a fantastic job of capturing the essence of what makes Elysium so wonderful. So check that one out if you haven't yet. All right, the next one I'll mention, this is a super cheapie. This is one of the first clones that I picked up when I really started to build my collection again a few years ago. This is a clone of Acqua di Gio, the original, but it has been modified a little. It's been modernized just a little bit. This is Perry Ellis 360 Red. And so this one is Acqua di Gio with a little touch more sweetness and a little bit of cinnamon. This is such a beautiful, bright, fresh, aquatic, clean fragrance like Acqua di Gio is. But I actually prefer the changes in this one to the original Acqua di Gio. I don't love the original Acqua di Gio. I like some of the flankers much better. But for about $15, which is what I paid for this one, this is an amazing alternative to Acqua di Gio, and one that you should definitely check out if you haven't. They're all over the rack stores and, of course, discounter websites. All right, so those two have been freshies. This one is definitely more of a cold weather fragrance. This is a clone of Initio's Oud for Greatness, and it's a really good clone of that fragrance. This is LATTAFA's BADEE Al Oud for Glory. And man, this is basically a very wearable oud. It's maybe slightly medicinal, but very much a beginner's oud. It's got, of course, saffron in the opening. That sort of oud-saffron combo is what you're immediately going to get with this one. There's also a Parfums de Marly fragrance that is kind of a clone of Initio's Oud for Greatness. At least they're extremely similar. And this one reminds me of both of them, but it is very close to the Initio. It's a oud fragrance with saffron and some other spices, and it's a very long-lasting fragrance, easily a 10-hour fragrance, and this is like a $25 pickup all over the internet. Definitely got to check that one out. Another fragrance that really shines in cold weather, this is a clone of Thierry Mugler's Pure Malt. This is another Fragrance World clone, Starman Nebula. This is a beautiful, boozy, spicy, aromatic fragrance. If you know the original Angelman, one of my favorite fragrances of all time, it's got some of the sweetness and aromatic spiciness of the original Angelman, but it's also got a boozy quality, a little more of a sweet spiciness. The spiciness is emphasized more in this one, whereas maybe the aromatics are a little more dominant in Angelman. There's something in it that reminds me a little bit of like a barbershop, like a Zaro Porum Intense or something like that. But man, beautiful, boozy, spicy, aromatic, wonderful cold weather fragrance. Check that one out. And again, it's around a $25 fragrance. Awesome prices. All right, next up, this is probably the only one on the list that I haven't smelled So I'm going by the reviews of others in saying that this is a good clone. From what I understand, this is a good clone, and it's a clone of Stronger With You Leather. This is Ard Al Za'afaran Oud 24 Hours Majestic Gold. This is an amazing leather fragrance. There is this beautiful soft leather, sort of like reminds me of like a soft suede or something like that. There is a little bit of a dusty vanilla in it, and then there is some gourmand sweetness and some light spiciness. So you've got sort of that nutty gourmand quality that will remind you of the Stronger With You fragrances, and then you've got this amazing leather. The leather in this one reminds me of like Philip Plein No Limits, or one of the Gucci fragrances that I'm going to blank on which one it is, but the one that's the all solid glass bottle. That's it's a leather fragrance that not everybody loves, but anyway, that's a pointless thing to say. But this is one that has that mesmerizing leather, and it's got this sweetness and dusty vanilla and spiciness that makes it very wearable, very crowd pleasing. I have gotten some compliments on this one, which is not always the case with leather fragrances. All right. Let's go next with one that is probably more suited to warmer weather, although of course you could wear it all year round. This is a clone of Creed's Millesime Imperial, and it's a really good clone. This is ARMAF's Milestone. And what you're going to get with this one is a sweet fruitiness with a kind of a soft freshness. The way they usually describe it is that it has a salted melon opening. And I get that. There is a little bit of a saltiness. That's a fragrance note that I'm beginning to understand. Like, oh, that actually does smell like a salty note. There is a melon sweetness in this fragrance. There's also some other fruits, though. A slightly tropical leaning fruitiness in Millesime Imperial. I don't think it doesn't have coconut or pineapple or anything like that. But it's also got this ambroxan that is used in a way that really smells like ambergris. You know, the Creed fragrances, the ambergris is kind of one of the standouts. Well, this one has that sweet, chewy, airy, ambergris-like ambroxan mixing with that fruitiness that is just absolutely awesome. That's probably the most expensive fragrance in the list. That's, I think, more like a $40 fragrance, where the rest of these are pretty much under 30, some of them under 20. All right, next up, I'm going to give you three that are inspired by or clones of La Nuit de l'Homme, but each of them has some differences. This one is Ted Lapidus Poker Face, and it's basically La Nuit de l'Homme with the aromatic notes cranked up a little bit. So the lavender is what you're going to get right off the top of this, but mixing with that cardamom, the freshness from the lavender, I think, makes this one even more appropriate for spring and even early summer before it gets super hot. And so this is an incredibly versatile alternative to La Nuit de l'Homme, and it performs better. It seems to be about a 7 or 8 hour fragrance, where La Nuit de l'Homme is probably more like a 5 or 6 hour fragrance on me. And so this is a beautiful, wonderful, slightly more aromatic alternative to La Nuit de l'Homme. All right, this next one, this is another cheapie, and this is very similar to La Nuit de l'Homme, but the powderiness is cranked up a little bit. So it doesn't have all the aromatics of Poker Face, but it does have a little more powderiness, and this is Guess Seductive Homme Blue. And so again, you're going to get a very similar vibe that you will with the other two that I'm mentioning here, but with a little more powderiness. But you're going to know that they were going for a La Nuit de l'Homme-like fragrance profile with that one. All right, this next one. This one is like La Nuit de l'Homme, but this one, the difference would be there's an ambroxan airiness added to this one that kind of modernizes it. And a lot of people said this was a clone of La Nuit de l'Homme Blue Electric. This is LATTAFA EJAZZI Silver. Now, when I first got this one, I did not like it. There was something funky in the opening, and it took a full half hour for that to settle down before I started to get something that even reminded me of Lanaweed-Alone. But as this has sat on the shelf for the last 6 months, a couple of my kids wear this one and really like it. As it's been used and as it has sat, a lot of that funkiness in the opening is gone, and immediately, even right off the atomizer, I get the Lanaweed-Alone vibe, but this one is modernized again with that ambroxan kind of freshness, airiness added to the Lanaweed-Alone backbone. So that's why so many people have said that it's a clone of Blue Electric. All right, this next one, this one is amazing. My favorite Tom Ford fragrance is probably still Tobacco Vanille, and this is a sub $30 clone of Tobacco Vanille. It is a monster performer. It is just magical in the way that it smells and the way that it draws you in. I'm talking about MAISON Alhambra, Branch of LATTAFA, Tobacco Touch. I love this fragrance. I will often put it on in the evenings. It's got, of course, the sweet vanilla, the tobacco. There's something dark in it that reminds me of almost like a dark cognac, like a dark, there is, to me, somewhat of a booziness in this fragrance. But then, of course, it's also got that clove, cinnamon, perhaps nutmeg, that spiciness mixing with that sweetness and that very strong vanilla tobacco sweetness. It's absolutely amazing. I love this fragrance, and for less than $30, I don't know that I'll ever buy the Tom Ford because that one scratches the itch for me, gets the job done, and it's very accurate as far as I know, not owning the fragrance myself, but having smelled it and worn it many times. All right. Next up, we'll go with another LATTAFA, and this one is a clone of YEDP, one of my favorite fragrances. This is LATTAFA FAKHAR Black. And so this one is like YEDP with some things changed. The sage in YEDP is toned down a little bit in this one, or altogether that green herbal heart of YEDP is toned down just a little bit. Also, I would say the sweetness, the kind of floral sweetness is increased just a little bit. Some have said it's like Y Live mixed with YEDP, and because of the sweetness, I could see how that could be the case. But I can tell you this, I will often put YEDP on one side of my body and FAKHAR Black on the other, and that works fabulous for me. This is a great fragrance. If you like that DNA, but you can't bring yourself to drop $120 for 100 ml of YEDP, this is a great stopgap and one that will get you really close to the Yves Saint Laurent fragrance. Okay, this is the last one. This is number 12. This one is a clone of Ombre Leather, but I like this one more than Ombre Leather. Unquestionably, I like it more. I don't think it probably performs as well as Ombre Leather, but it is so good. This is the original Ben Sherman signature, and what this one is, it's Ombre Leather, like 90% Ombre Leather, but there is a sweet fruitiness in the opening of this one. And it even hangs throughout the life of the fragrance, a little bit of a sweet fruitiness that to me makes this even more wearable, even more mass appealing. I love sweet fragrances. I love leather fragrances. And I like Ombre Leather. I always have. But to me, this one is even more appealing because it's like they took the fruitiness from Tuscan Leather, although it's not as much of a bright raspberry. It seems to be a mix of some sweet fruits. So the fruitiness from Tuscan Leather and mix it with that smooth leather cardamom vibe from Ombre Leather, and you get something that is so amazing. I got this bottle for $5.40 because it was on clearance, but I've seen it for $10 at Burlington Coat Factory and other rack stores. This is an amazing pickup. What you get for 10 bucks is just almost unbelievable. All right, so that has been 12 really good fragrance clones But what would you add down in the comments? What would you add to the list? And again, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that. I'm Justin. This has been Sillage Scents. I'll see you on the next one.